You ever look back at a bike and think, damn, I should have bought that thing? Yeah, this one's for every guy who walked away from a motorcycle that made his heart pound because life got in the way. Mortgage, kids, knees that don't bend like they used to. But let me tell you something, there's a motorcycle out there, maybe more than one, that still haunts you. And today, we're going to talk about that bike. The motorcycle you'll regret not buying in your 40s. Not because it's the fastest, not because it's the newest, but because it felt right. Like slipping into a leather jacket that still smells like your 20s. Let's start with the obvious one, the Ducati Monster. Yeah, everyone knows the Monster, but not everyone appreciates it. You hit 40, and suddenly, everyone's talking about reliability, comfort, practicality. But then you see this thing parked at a coffee shop, matte red paint, naked frame, low growl of that L-twin engine. And your gut says, screw it, that's the one. It's not just a bike, it's attitude. It's skipping the boring years and jumping straight into a midlife renaissance. And if you didn't buy one when you had the chance, yeah, you'll feel it when your buddy shows up to the Sunday ride out with his freshly minted 821. Let's talk about another, the Yamaha XSR 900. It's what happens when retro styling gets injected with performance steroids. It looks like a 70s racer, but twist the throttle and it'll pin you like a modern day hooligan machine. At 40, you want something with soul and bite. This thing's got both. And here's the kicker, it's comfortable. Like actually ride all day and not need a chiropractor comfortable. You had your shot at it. Maybe it sat in the showroom calling your name and you walked away. Now they're getting snapped up left and right. And every time you see one fly past with that triple cylinder howl, regret creeps in. All right, let's go a bit left field. The Indian FTR 1200. You probably didn't expect that, huh? But man, this bike is the American answer to every European naked street fighter. Flat track style, beastly torque, and a seating position that makes you feel ready for anything. Here's what most people don't realize. At 40, you're not old. You're just experienced enough to not care about opinions. The FTR, it rides like that. Not for the crowd, not for the badge snobs, just raw American muscle with a whiskey-soaked swagger. And yet, most people passed it up. Too weird, too risky, not a safe buy. You'll regret that. Because a bike like this, it's the last wild thing most men never tame. Speaking of wild, let me take you to Japan. Kawasaki Z900 RS. Retro paint, modern everything else. It's what happens when the 70s grow up, but keep the mullet. You're 40. You remember the original Z1. Even if you never rode one, it's burned to your memory. Now Kawasaki hands you a modern version that looks the part, but rides like a dream. You pass it up thinking, I'll wait. But brother, these bikes don't wait for you. Next year, the color you wanted's gone. The price goes up. And your neighbor rolls up with one and says, best thing I ever bought. And all you've got is a story about almost pulling the trigger. Let's take a breather, because this one hurts. The Triumph Thruxton R. You know the one. Classic lines, clip-ons, cafe racer vibes dripping with sophistication. It's the kind of bike that doesn't shout, it smirks. You walk up to it, and it doesn't scream horsepower stats or lap times. It just says, I'm cooler than you, and I know it. At 40, your tastes change. You don't need to prove anything. You want something that feels like a leather-bound novel. The Thruxton R is that. And if you let it slip through your fingers, you'll think about it. Every damn time. You see one parked under a street lamp on a warm night. Let's go even more niche. Moto Gui V7. Now hear me out. Not the fastest, not the lightest, but maybe the most soulful thing to come out of Italy. It vibrates, it shakes, it makes noises that sound like a lawnmower having an existential crisis, but it's got soul. And when you're 40, you don't chase specs, you chase feeling. The V7 is that feeling you get when a song comes on and takes you back 20 years. You're not even riding, you're remembering. If you had the chance to own one and didn't, that's a regret that creeps in slowly, but it sticks. All right, let's lighten it up a bit. We can't talk regrets without mentioning this one, the Suzuki SV650. Yeah, the budget bike, the one everyone says is for beginners. But let's be real. The SV650 is like that girl in high school who didn't wear makeup and played bass in a punk band. You didn't notice her back then, but now you see her on Instagram and damn, she aged like fine whiskey. That V twin is smooth as butter. The frame is light. The ride, pure joy. It's not flashy, but it does everything well. You had one lined up, or you saw it for cheap on Craigslist, but you passed it up. Wanted something sexier. Now look at you, hunting one down with 40,000 miles on it and rust on the tank, because deep down, you know, you missed out. And speaking of missing out, let's talk about the Honda CB1100. No electronics, no riding modes, just a big, honest inline four that feels like riding a time capsule. It's smooth, heavy, solid. You ride it and remember what motorcycles used to feel like before all the tech, before the apps, before the buzzwords. This is a gentleman's bike. And when you're 40, that might be exactly what you want. You tell yourself, I'll get one when the time's right. Well, the time's gone. Honda pulled it. No more CB1100. Now you're stuck on eBay watching the price climb higher than your cholesterol. You'll regret not pulling the trigger when it was just sitting there, showroom floor, chrome glistening, waiting for a rider with a bit of gray in his beard. All right, take a breath, because next, we're going into the rare stuff, the weird ones, the sleepers, the machines nobody talks about, but you should have, and it's going to hit a nerve. Let's dive into the deep cuts now. The ones your buddy didn't even know existed, but if you saw one on the road, you'd slow down, stare, and think, why didn't I get that? First up, the Aprilia Tuono V4. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a track weapon, a lunatic's bike. But here's the thing. At 40, you've still got the skills. You've still got the fire. You just forgot how good it feels to be scared again. The Tuono isn't just fast. It's orchestra-level sound with a chainsaw edge. It's refined chaos. It's Italian anger in a tailored suit. You had your chance. They were right there in the corner of the dealership. Usually dusty, usually ignored, but they were the real deal. Now, they're unicorns. The resale's insane, and you're kicking yourself because you played it safe. Let's go even weirder. The Bule XB12S. Yeah, I said it. The bike that Harley never really understood, but somehow built anyway. 1200cc V-twin stuffed into a compact frame that felt like a dirt bike on steroids. It didn't make sense. That's what made it beautiful. You could feel the thunder, smell the fuel, and every corner felt like you were breaking the rules. But what did most guys do? Laughed it off, walked right past it. Now, try finding one in decent condition. They're collector's items. You had a shot, and you blew it. All right, let's switch gears. Honda CB500X. Now, I know, it's not exotic, it's not sexy, but let me ask you something. How many times have you said, I just want a bike I can ride anywhere? This is that bike. Commuting, touring, gravel, back roads, Sunday rides. It's the Swiss Army knife of motorcycles. And when you hit your 40s, that's exactly what you should have bought. Instead, you went for the horsepower numbers, the bragging rights, the leader bikes. But now you're watching a guy with a CB500X ride cross-country, grinning ear to ear, while your GSXR is parked in the garage collecting dust. Regret? Yeah, that's how it starts. Let's bring in a legend. Yamaha VMAX. You saw it, you felt it, that V4 rumble, that drag race DNA, that styling that says, I could bench press your cruiser. You were intimidated. You said, maybe someday. Well, someday doesn't wait around. You're 40 now. You can handle it. Hell, you could have handled it then, but you didn't pull the trigger. Now when you see one in traffic, your heart skips a beat, and a little voice in your head whispers, too late. Let's talk about another sleeper, the BMW R9T. Pure boxer beauty, crafted like a German sculpture. It's not about speed, it's about presence. You know what I mean? You walk past 20 bikes in a row, and then the R9T stops you cold. It's not flashy, but it's confident. Like an old watch or a tailored blazer, it just fits. At 40, that's what you need. Not gimmicks, not noise, just quality. But maybe you said too expensive or not practical. So you walked. And now you're on forums scrolling through classifieds trying to recapture that feeling. But the one you wanted is gone. And you're left with the memory of what could have been. All right, let's take a small detour to nostalgia. The Kawasaki W800. That bike looked like it rode straight out of 1969. Chrome, spoked wheels, parallel twin that thumped just enough to remind you this ain't no electric appliance. It was slow, and that was the point. Riding it was like time travel. Every mile felt like you were riding through a Beatles album, but you wanted more power, more edge, so you skipped it. And now, they don't even make it anymore. Your regret isn't that it wasn't fast. It's that you forgot how good it felt to go slow. Let's bring it back home. Harley-Davidson FXDR 114. You remember this one? Muscle cruiser with drag bike swagger. Too aggressive for the Harley purists, too American for the sport crowd. But damn if it didn't look like it punched holes in the wind. It was misunderstood, underrated, and criminally overlooked. You were right there. You saw the price drop. You knew it was rare, but you hesitated. And now they're gone. But just like that. Here's the painful truth. At 40, you don't regret the bikes you bought. You regret the ones you almost bought. You regret the near misses. The ones that had you pacing around the parking lot. The ones you test rode and then talked yourself out of. And the worst part? They don't come back. The models change. The sounds change. The feelings change. You can't just go back to the dealership and relive that moment because it's gone. That's what makes the regret so heavy. It's not just the bike. It's the version of you that almost bought it. The version that said, why the hell not? The version that twisted the throttle instead of calculating the resale. And that version, he's still in there. We've got a few more to talk about. The ones that sting, the ones that got away. And maybe, just maybe, one last chance to get it right. You ready? Because the next one, it's personal. The KTM 990 Super Duke. No traction control, no rider modes, just pure, unfiltered chaos on two wheels. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't polished. It was the kind of bike that looked at your midlife crisis and said, let's burn it down and start over. You saw one. Maybe even rode one. It was wild. It wanted to wheelie. It vibrated like a blender on meth. And you thought, I'm too old for this. But maybe that was the point. You were just old enough to appreciate it, just smart enough to respect it. But you passed. And now, they don't make them like that anymore. Everything's safer, softer, quieter. But that bike, that was your last shot at riding something unhinged. Let's slow it down again. Because some bikes, they're not just motorcycles, they're therapy. Enter the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. 2 cylinders, no screens, chrome tank, straight pipes that sound like your youth. You probably dismissed it. Too cheap, too slow, not serious enough. But that's the beauty of it. It's not trying to be anything other than a motorcycle. No branding exercise, no lifestyle attached. Just you, the road, and a little parallel twin humming under you like a lullaby. You didn't buy it because you were chasing performance. Now you're chasing peace. And the Interceptor, that was peace on wheels. You missed it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off with this one. The Suzuki Bandit 1200. Yeah, the everyman's monster. Big engine, bulletproof, ugly in the best possible way. This was the bike for the guy who didn't care about clout, just wanted to go fast, carry luggage, and outlast the apocalypse. At 40, that's what you want. A bike that doesn't care how many likes it gets. It just runs forever. You had your chance. Back when they were $3,500 on Facebook Marketplace, you thought, I'll find one later. Well, later is now. And guess what? They're gone. Everyone who bought one kept it because when you find a Bandit that runs, you never let it go. And you'll regret that. All right, let's end with the one that hurts the most, the one that says the loudest, "You should've." The bike that never gets old, never loses its magic, never fades. The Honda Africa Twin. Not the latest model with TFT screens and Bluetooth. I'm talking the CRF 1000L, the one that came out swinging in 2016 and reminded the world that Honda could still build legends. It was tall. It was honest. It was everything an adventure bike should be. And more than that, it made you believe. Believe that you could still go somewhere, do something, be someone. You saw it, you read the reviews, you imagined loading it up and just disappearing for a week. But you didn't do it. You got busy, you got practical, you got scared. Now, you see one in the wild and your heart aches a little. Because that wasn't just a bike. It was a version of you that wanted more. And you let it go. Here's the thing. At 40, it's not about horsepower or lap times or torque curves. It's about freedom. And every bike you didn't buy, that you wanted to buy, is a little freedom you passed up. You think you'll circle back, but life gets louder and bikes get rarer. And that little gut feeling, it fades. But let me tell you something. It's not too late. Yeah, maybe the specific model you loved is gone. Maybe the dealership sold the last one. Maybe your knees creak and your back talks back. But if you're still thinking about that bike, you've still got time. Maybe it's a different machine now. But the feeling, that urge, that's still real. And it doesn't care how old you are. It just wants to ride. So go find that bike, the one that makes your stomach flip, the one that feels like home, the one you'll never regret buying. Because if there's one thing we know, you'll never remember the bike you didn't buy with a smile. You'll remember it in quiet moments, when the garage is dark, when the helmets are dusty, when you wonder, what if? Don't wonder. Go ride. Because the road's still there, the throttle still twists, and the best ride of your life might still be waiting. Just don't let it get away again. And finally, if you will, subscribe to Autozium and help me chase my dream bike. Thanks for all the support, legends.